1, 2, 3, 4. I got thoughts running through my head. I got thoughts, can't you see? I got thoughts, the books I read. I got thoughts, won't you listen to me?
Hello again, and welcome to the second episode of The Author Has Thoughts. I am the author in question, Gary Ballard, author of 11 or 12 novels I never can remember. This particular set of videos is about the second book in the Stepping Stone Cycle series, which is a modern-day reinterpretation of the Cthulhu Mythos. If you don't know the Cthulhu Mythos by H.P. Lovecraft, check the episode 0 in the series. You'll be able to see it probably in the channel or somewhere on my playlist. So as you can see, I've got my Captain America shirt on. I'm going to see Avengers Endgame tonight, so really happy about that. Really psyched. The second book in the series is called The Metal Black, or to put it colloquially, The Metal Black. So yes, obviously one of the things that inspired me about this, or inspired me to write this particular novel, is my love of heavy metal music. I am a child of the 80s. I was born in the 70s, but, grew up, kind of came home, was a teenager in the 80s, late 80s. I graduated high school in 89, so you can do the math on how old I am. I haven't always loved heavy metal music. It's not like, from the time I was out of the crib there, I was loving heavy metal. I actually didn't, although my first real musical love was Kiss, because I was a comic nerd, 5, 6 years old, and saw that incredibly bad TV movie, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Nice. Apes is more like it.
And, they were superheroes. I was enthralled. And, actually got my mom to buy me an 8-track of Kiss Destroyer, which had God of Thunder and, some really good songs on it, really good album. But I didn't really like other metal music. My older brother, who's about 5 years older than me, was rock and metal music. He played guitar in high school, and he would play the music, and me being a dumb, young, white kid from the South, the country South, going to church all the time, I was like, that's devil music. And yet I loved Kiss. Even though, in the 70s, it was always said that, they were, Kiss stands for Knights in Satanic Service, or something like Knights in Satan's Service, or something like that. Something silly. I thought it was devil music until 12 years old, buddy of mine wanted me to, was into metal music, and my brother had a lot of 8-tracks and vinyl of metal music. And buddy of mine discovered that my brother had Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind, 1983 album. I guess it was new at the time I heard it. And he wanted me to record it for him. My dad had a stereo with a turntable that also had a built-in cassette track. And back in the day, you would either have to have a cassette built into whatever other transfer, whether it's a 2-cassette boombox or a turntable with a cassette built into it to record. Otherwise, you'd have to hold up your recorder to the speaker of whatever source you had to be able to record something. So, long way away from the days where you can just pull up Spotify and just about every damn album in the world is on there. But 1983, Iron Maiden, Peace of Mind. He wanted me to record that album for him. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Listen to music, that's fine. So I put it on, started the chord, and started listening to it. Wow. Blown away. 12 years old. Just, not quite a teenager, but something about 7th grade and about being 12. You think you know everything. And, you're starting to learn about sex, and puberty is either hitting you or about to hit you. And all the things you kind of knew as a child they're still there, but you're kind of putting them behind you, and then all of a sudden this Iron Maiden album comes and just right through my brain, and loved it. From that point on, I was sold. I was a metalhead. Started playing guitar, doing all the things you do. You had the denim jacket, and again, it was the 80s, and started growing my hair out, which by the time I reached college, my hair was literally down to here, and which was kind of funny going to a little Southern Presbyterian college like Belhaven, private college, where most of the people there, 99.9%, were strongly Christian and outwardly so, and I wasn't. I was this metalhead, the agnostic, hostile, rebellious metalhead who always had chip on his shoulder and anger and all this kind of stuff. Even though I'm a nice guy, but I angry. Metal has been, since that day, metal has been a significant part of my life. Metal music and hard rock music and metal music, and it started like it would start any time there. You had the Iron Maiden, the Motley Crue came out the next year, and Ozzy, and then you start discovering things like Black Sabbath and Bon Jovi, which wasn't metal but hard rock, in the same genre. And at the time did not have MTV, because then MTV was not on every cable station, and I didn't even have cable at this point. I'll get to that in a minute. But didn't have cable till we moved to Madison, which is outside of Jackson, Mississippi, in like '84. Our cable package didn't have MTV unless you paid for it. It was an extra service back then, which I know is odd, but it was an extra service, and my mom was not going to pay for that crap. She literally said, "I'm not going to pay for this crap." So the only way I could get MTV was to go to friends' houses, or look through the scramble and see if I could hear something. Couldn't, but it wasn't until like '87 or '88 that I had MTV, which is the point I got things like Headbangers Ball and all that sort of stuff, and really started being exposed to metal music that wasn't just radio music, top hit radio music, and learn about things like Metallica and Anthrax, speed metal, and things like that, and eventually Slayer. And for the longest time I was didn't really like the Cookie Monster metal music, but now I do. In the last, say, decade, I've gotten some appreciation for that and love some of those acts. I knew that I wanted to write metal. Kind of informed this book. It's called The Metal Black, because the crux of it is these two teenagers in Podunk, Mississippi, killed these two girls, and their parents, and then they killed themselves, and their parents are suing the band that made this music that they loved, this band called The Metal Black, which had a song called The Metal Black. Hence the title of the book, Metal Black. Real clever, right? Part of my inspiration was not just my love of heavy metal, but growing up in the 80s and loving heavy metal, there was a couple of trials, maybe 2 or 3, I know at least one for sure that was big, of parents suing metal bands because their kids killed themselves and then blamed the metal music, for it, which as a heavy metal kid was real rebellious. I was like, this is such bullshit. I mean, I'm not going to get influenced to kill myself by music. I mean, come on. I still believe that music and books and things like that don't cause people to be violent and have school shootings, because this was before Columbine. I don't believe they make people kill other people or themselves. They don't make them. Can they influence people who already have mental health issues? Abso-frickin-lutely. And, I state that in the book. But as far as legal liability goes, the trial I was thinking of when I was writing this book and coming up with this book was the Judas Priest trial. I think that was the biggest one. And it was, I think, a kid or 2 kids shot themselves with a shotgun, and the parents blamed Judas Priest. Which, again, even in the 80s, if you're looking at music that might cause somebody to kill other people or themselves and, commit violence, Judas Priest is not the one to do that. Their music is not, when you're talking about, you've got Slayer, who literally was talking about things like Satanism and all that kind of stuff, even though it's really just, fictional stuff, or Exodus or bands like that. Judas Priest is tame in comparison. And, even now you get death metal bands and dark metal and black metal and all that have groups like, 6 Feet Under, Cannibal Corpse, and groups like that, where it's a lot more violent and all that. But again, it's, for the most part, these guys are just writing stuff. They're not violent people. I mean, it's just that's their shtick. That's their act, and they're all fairly nice people. The idea that a metal band could cause kids to kill themselves, or kill other people and then themselves, I've always found ludicrous. But there have been trials about it, and so knowing that Jack's a forensic psychologist and he would be brought in some instances to weigh in on the mental health of people in a trial, the framing device for this would be that he was brought in, ostensibly through his FBI contacts, he was brought in to weigh in impartially, because each side in this case has their own psychologist who says, no, it doesn't, yes, it did, yes, it does. And he would be a expert of the court who would be able to look at both sides without having any agenda to his diagnosis and say, did this have an effect or not? So it's kind of funny, because I think the thought of that kind of trial now is, would be seen as ludicrous, not only because legally the question's kind of settled, but also because I think the people who have kids now, who would be my age, or maybe a little bit younger, a little bit older, would have gone through that in the 80s and been like, that's bullshit. The band's not going to cause them to kill people. I think they would have grown up listening to, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, and that kind of stuff, and dismissed that kind of thing. So it was kind of a throwback to that.